Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Rad Nauseam YouTube channel for another weekly roundup. This week we'll be covering from the 1st to the 7th of September 2025, and we have quite a big week. With me this week, I have Nathan. How you doing?
Look, I'm always good, man. Always good. How are you?
Yeah, doing pretty well. As I said, we've had a big week of 7 Point Highlander, so we'll dive right in. Starting off in Adelaide, we had shuffled local game store on a Wednesday with 10 players, and it looks like the 3-0 was Wet Jund. I believe you think this should be called something else, Nathan?
Yeah. Shout out Hot Bug.
And then at 2 wins and 1 loss, we had Mardudes, Rakdos Eclipse, and good to see a Golgari Lands pilot putting up a winning record there.
Yeah, it's always good to see.
Next in Brisbane, we had the MTG Mate Event Centre, 25 players. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get the full data set for you, but we do have quite a lot of them. And we have some of the deck lists from here because there was some really sweet brews, including one that managed to go 3-0. So we had 3-0 shops and then Grixis Madness. And we're going to take a look at that Grixis Madness list.
Looks super sweet.
Yeah, this list looks just really awesome. I can't pronounce this first card here if you want to have a go, Nathan.
I think it's like Asmarana Mardica Diced in a Coldcar or something. But yeah, it's a sweet card. Doesn't get enough play. Like a lot of these cards don't get enough play.
Yeah,
Just a big fan of this archetype.
this is a list where, yeah, I could probably name half of the cards, which is obviously unusual in Highlander. Normally, people stick to the staples. But this list looks pretty sweet. They've gone for the point spread of Mox Jet, Mox Ruby, and Psychic Frog. And they're notably playing Bizarra Baghdad. And then it just looks like every single Madness creature, I guess.
Yeah, it looks like half of a commander deck, but I think that's more or less what 7 Point Highlander kind of feels like nowadays anyway. This is just the different half of the commander deck.
Yeah, some old favorites here. We've got Squee, Goblin Nabob. So if you're going to be upkeep, you may return Squee from the graveyard to your hand. So that's just like an infinite discard outlet, I guess, with something like a Bizarre.
Always a fantasy cards like Rotting Regisaur getting out there. Just like, even though 3 mana 7/6 isn't isn't that crazy these days, like these kind of high power creatures that sort of have downside that becomes upside. It's like finding these sort of niches in the format are underexplored.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they managed to go 3-0 with this list. It looks, yeah, just really streamlined. Looks like they knew what they wanted to do, and they put it together. A lot of favorites here. Hollow one, like we could definitely see this list putting this on to play in turn one. That's for sure.
Yeah, and there's some new cards that have come out with like Scrounging Skyray just has a cycling ability, but when you discard it, it becomes like discard other cards, it becomes quite an efficient threat. And if you're discarding, like you said, enough cards to cast a hollow one in one turn, having a 2 mana 5/6 flyer or whatever it is pretty scary.
Yeah, same as this Marauding Mako does the same thing at 1 mana, and notably they both have cycling themselves, so there are also ways to discard cards.
Yeah, and the fact that a lot of these cards are sort of considered, I guess, junky, that you get to have these like double mox points. Like none of the cards in here except the frog are pointed. So you just get to have these really powerful mana engines that just come out straight away.
Yeah, I think this list is sweet. Hopefully we'll see it, continue to put up some 3-0s. Jumping back in the Brisbane results, at 2 wins and 1 loss, there is quite a few here. We've got Flash Hulk, we've got Yidris, Cascade, Midrange, which we will take a look at in just a second. We also have 8 Point Boros Legends, Jeskai Miracles, Flash Hulk, and Rakdos Eclipse. So like lots of different decks putting up results here, and yeah, it looks like a very interesting field, but we will take a look at the Yidris Cascade mid list for you.
Yeah, another super sweet list. Just the idea of hitting someone with Yidris and then just immediately winning the game sounds pretty good. It may not just say win the game on the spot, but your opponent, when they're having to deal with you ramping out 3 or 4 creatures immediately with like Orcish Bowmasters and Psychic Frog, getting a couple Planeswalkers into play, just so much value if they get hit once with that. A lot of synergy. It's exciting.
Yeah, so as you said, like you can hit with Idris and get the cascades off that. They've also got some cards with like native cascade, or in this case, discover with the geological appraiser, Bloodbraid Elf, Shardless Agent. So a lot of different ways to start that cascade chain. And then what caught my eye here was the Ancestral Vision and the Inevitable Betrayal. So obviously, if you discover or cascade into those, you get to just cast them. So that's a 0 point Ancestral, or the Inevitable Betrayal here. I forget what this card is. The one that this is riffing off.
Yeah, it's bribery, I think.
Bribery, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and you just search their library, put their best creature into play, and kill them with it.
So that's search their library and put their Deadpool into play, I believe, in some point at the moment.
Yeah. Or their Dragon Rage Channeler, probably.
Yeah, this list looks sweet. Like you said, like a really strong Planeswalker package here. You can imagine cascading into any of those is quite a big advantage.
Yeah, any deck that can sort of jam an Oko, a Jace, a Lily, and a Grist onto the battlefield after a couple of spells is one that's going to be pretty scary to face down if you sort of don't get under them.
Yeah, this list looks sweet. Like, hope to see it pop up more, and maybe they'll continue to refine the archetype. Maybe in a year's time we'll all be playing just Cascade. So fingers crossed. Back at the Brisbane results here, good to see some tribal decks. Unfortunately, not putting up winning records, but Goblins and Merfolk there. Shout out to the tribal gamers. So moving on to Canberra, we have Jolt Games on a Monday at 6:30. Once again, a really impressive turnout with 34 players, and the 3-win decks were 8-point Boros Legends, Storm, Blue Moon, and 4-color Food Midrange.
4-color Food Midrange. This is a local delicacy, a local favorite of our good friend Capers. I believe he has an interview teed up with the pilot for this win here. It's also interesting to see a Storm deck at the top here. I thought all of the Storm pilots were located in Sydney and Melbourne, so perhaps something is afoot. But yeah, it's classic 8-point Boros Legends as well. Doing work.
Yeah, and the field also looks like it's got some sweet decks there. Standing out to me is 0-point Gruul Fling. Really wish we got the deck list for this one, but maybe we can bring that to you in a future week. But yeah, very interested to see why this deck is running 0 points.
Yeah, a lot of 8-point lists too. Surprisingly a large amount of those. Not as many Grixis decks as I would be expecting for Canberra, but
yeah, I guess they're saving the bus stop focus, saving their tech maybe, or playing 8-point Dimian Ninjas, because that just seems sweet. Maybe they're on that instead. Still in Canberra, obviously Canberra 5 was over the weekend. On a Saturday, they had a huge turnout with 106 players. And at the end of the Swiss standings, it was Grixis, Oz of Taxes, Grixis, 8-point Luris, Death and Taxes, Grixis, and Grixis.
Yeah, I guess this is where the Grixis players were. They were just waiting to come and play the weekend event instead of turning up to a lowly weekly event.
Yeah, great showing obviously for the bus stop team, putting 4 or 5 in the top 8. Not sure exactly who was aligned with the team there, but yeah, they also had some good results in the top 8. So Grixis beat Grixis, Grixis beat Oz of Taxes, Grixis again beat Grixis, and then the 8-point Luris DNT fought the good fight, getting over Grixis. And then we had Grixis surprisingly beating Grixis, and then sadly we had Grixis beating the 8-point Luris DNT, and we just had a split for the prize at the end there. So Grixis is equal to Grixis in the end.
It's true. Grixis does equal Grixis.
Yeah, that's perfect math right there.
Shout out to the 8-point Luris DNT list. It's a sweet Volty brew. It was sub $150, showing that you can, with a little elbow grease, get quite far.
Yeah, and if you are a Pro Tour level Magic player, you too could top 4 an event with $150 deck. But that is really sweet. Obviously, showing that budget decks don't have to be relegated to the sidelines. They also had an event on the Sunday at the Campbell 5. 37 players showed up to this one. I believe this was an invitational, so on the line were some invites to the event to end all events coming up later in November. And the Swiss standings for this one, only 4 Grixis in the top 8, so really letting themselves down here. It was Grixis, Tolarian Wheels, Grixis, Tolarian Wheels, Blue Moon, and Mardu Midrange. And the top 8 results here, you can see them on the screen. I don't think a lot of these games were played out, a lot of concessions, just in terms of who wanted an invite and who didn't. So probably won't run through those. But yeah, only 4 Grixis in the top 8. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, I think once you sort of get your luck out of the way for the run on Saturday, maybe you're not gonna want to sort of risk running into some negative luck for future events by playing a second event on Sunday. We know that Grixis players typically just very lucky on the day. It's why they don't show up maybe to the weekly events also.
Yeah, better lucky than good, I think. Moving on, down in Melbourne, at the Maze of Fitzroy event on a Tuesday, 7 p.m, there was 8 players, and taking it out was Bug Thoracle. That looks like they only played 3 rounds, just went 3-0. And then at 3 wins and 1 loss was Storm. And we see, looks like Orzhov Taxes is popping up here and there. We've got an 8-point Orzhov Taxes list as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, shout out to the Bug Thoracle player who just rocks up, crushes everyone, and then drops in this after winning the semi-finals without elaborating.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm confident that I'm going to get here. Going to drop after 3 rounds. Why not? We had at plenty of games on a Wednesday. There was 28 players, so pretty big turnout for POG. Going 4-0 was Mardu Initiative. Going 3 wins and a draw was Golgari Lands. 3 wins and 1 loss. There was 4-color midrange, so no blue. Golgari Lands again, Storm and Dimir Moons. And also posting a winning record at 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. There was Bant Flicker, Selesnya Midrange, and Atraxa Walks.
Yeah, shout out to plenty of games in the Melbourne squad playing Wednesdays. They're getting bigger these nights, so it's good to see more players coming in and playing, and some sweet lists as well. The Bant Flicker deck looks super cool.
Yeah, Brooksy on Bant Flicker there. He said it was the first time he just sleeved it up, I think, the night before, and it'd be interesting to see whether he sticks with that archetype and then refines that list, because I played against it. Had to draw it because it was a very resilient deck, so good to see. Still in Melbourne, there was a Maze of Fitzroy winner box on the Sunday at 11 a.m. For some reason, this was held concurrently with Canberra 5 and also on Father's Day, so unfortunately only 9 players showing up for this one. 3 wins and a draw in the Swiss Jeskai Control. 3 wins and 1 loss Golgari Lands. And 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. There was Blue Red Prowess, Shops, and Nadu. And then playing it out in the top 4 results, Shops got the win over Jeskai Control. Golgari Lands got the win over Blue Red Prowess. And I'm not sure whether the math tracks here, but Golgari Lands is equal to Shops.
I'm a bit suspicious.
Yeah.
I'm a bit suspicious of this math. Whoever created this slide, obviously not a math major.
I think if you actually work it out, it is true that on this day Golgari Lands was equal to Shops, because the prize was split. Great to see Golgari Lands put on results. Next up in Perth at Good Games Morley on Thursday 6:30, there was 23 players, so good turnout there. And going 4-0 once again was the Weldgorger Servant list. I believe Cull has any to for this one.
Yeah, I've heard rumors that this deck is putting up work and is lined up for an interview later.
At 3 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw, there was Eldrazi, and then at 3 wins and 1 loss, 5-color midrange. Grixis bots, so that's an interesting one. I'm keen to see that list at some point. Abzan midrange and red deck wins.
Yeah, I've heard of people playing white bots now. So Grixis bots, I think maybe the archetype less solved than we previously thought. So interesting to see more deck lists coming out for that.
Moving on to Sydney at Good Games Chatswood on a Tuesday at 6:30, there was 8 players, and taking out the 3-0 was Boros Moonshine, and also posting winning record at 2 wins and 1 loss. We had Blue White Time Vault and Orzhov Taxes. So once again, Orzhov Taxes putting up some work around the country this week.
I'm excited to see more Time Vault lists as well. That card gets nowhere near enough love.
Yeah, a new Tezzeret you would think gets the Time Vault players excited.
D-pointing would probably get them more excited.
Speaking of the devil, still in Sydney at Chromatic Games Thursday 7 p.m. There was 12 players and once again 3 wins and 1 loss time vault. So maybe it is good. Also 3 wins and 1 loss, John, Storm, and Fleshhawk.
Yeah, confirmed. Time Vault, Storm, equal power. Everyone, if you're worried about Storm, sleeve up Time Vault.
Yeah, it turns out we can't D-point time vault. It's just crushing it. Some cool lists there in the 2 wins and 2 losses as well. Seeing once again Orzhov Taxes putting up work. Rakdos Madness that we looked at the other week also still putting up some good results. And Prison Shops. Cool to see the more prison-y variants of shops getting some love.
Yeah, I think that archetype also is obviously a bit underexplored, the whole prison archetype. I remember playing against a really sweet mono red prison deck at one point when I first got back in the format about a year ago, but I haven't really seen anything since. And I know you've got a sweet list as well, so would like to see more of these sort of prison decks rocking up.
Yeah, also just want to give a shout out to unfortunately 0 wins and 4 losses, but Mono Black Rack, keep fighting the good fight. In Wollongong, Good Games Wollongong, Friday 6:30, there was 9 players, and we are seeing a lot of the usual faces here. So 3 wins and 1 draw, 8-point Bant Nadu, Simic Endstone, and then at 3 wins, 1 loss, we've got 4 Blaster Moon and 8-point Jund.
Yeah, 4 Blaster Moon deck still putting up results, and interesting to see another Nadu player. Since the Nadu pointing, haven't really seen much of it outside of the sort of dedicated pilot here in Melbourne, so it's cool to see Nadu putting up results too.
And on Magic Online, we had the Volti Fight Night number 49. That was on a Tuesday at 7 p.m. There was 11 players and looks like quite an even field with 5 decks at 3 wins and 1 loss. And they were Grixis, Bots, Storm, and Jund. So a lot of the usual faces here.
Yeah, Grixis on top this MTGO weekly. So interesting to see that development. Maybe getting a bit of practice ahead of the Canberra event.
As always, for more info on the weekly and fortnightly events, we recommend checking out our Where to Play video on the Rad Nauseam YouTube channel. And we would like to say thank you to the people who helped us collect data this week. That was Raj, Zach, myself, Jack, Aaron, Harry, Michael, Marco, Nick, Stephen, and Ariel.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and if you have not hit that like and subscribe button yet, please do so. It really helps the channel out, and we'll see you next time.
Legacy Delver, Modern Splinter Twin, Vintage Workshops. Each of these are mainstays and beloved archetypes in each of their formats. And I think for 7 Point Highlander there is one archetype that is unexplored but might just have the potential to be on that level. That's right, I'm talking about Food Midrange. Food Midrange is and will be the most beloved and powerful archetype in all of Highlander. My name is Capers, the premier pilot of Food Midrange. With me today, I have a fellow compatriot of mine who was able to go 3-0 at Jolt Games in the last weeklies. That's right, Food Midrange, 3-0. Get used to it. With me, I have Edan. Hello Edan, how are you?
Good, yourself? I'm just having a great time here.
Fantastic. Now, I do apologize for the audio quality that you're about to hear through my own microphone. There was a little bit of a distortion issue, so sorry for that, but I do promise that I was just quite excited and my microphone could barely contain the excitement for such an archetype. So I have a couple of questions for you to kind of break down the deck and tell the wider community about this beautiful creation that we've been able to put together. So you've played the Food deck now for a couple of weeks. My first question to you is, what is Food Midrange and how does this fucking deck win?
The Food Midrange is probably the strongest deck in the format right now.
I think so, yeah.
It's like if you took any of the other mid-range decks right now, but you added synergy, which is a big thing they're lacking out on. So if you see through the deck list, all these cards have a common theme, which is also in the name of the deck.
Yep.
It kind of wins through the mid-range plan, but also a combo plan if you want to. My deck is a bit more focused towards that mid-range style of gameplay.
Yeah, I love the mid-range plan as well, because these mid-range engines that you can, like these engine board states you can create with a couple of food cards can just outgrind even the grindiest decks. I've been able to outgrind lands and Grixis just because all of your cards, they combo together in some way, which is really cool. Tell me about your 3 games at Jolt. I heard you played against Grixis a few times, is that right?
Yeah, for sure. The first game was against Mardu.
Oh, beautiful.
Which was a pretty tight game there. A lot of back and forths between that, and then the second 2 after that were both Grixis games. Yeah. And I feel like the matchup with food into Grixis is actually quite a favorable one for us.
Absolutely,
because all of our cards in food, they complement each other. There's a package we've got going on here, which I think is a unique aspect to this deck.
My favorite question to any aspiring food player is, what is your favorite card in the deck?
I know there's a couple classics in here that most people will say, but me personally, my favorite card in the deck right now is Farmer Cotton. Farmer Cotton feels like such a powerful card.
This card is a house. Tell me why it's Farmer Cotton.
Oh, one of those games I had against Grixis, all I had on board was Farmer Cotton and a Caracas. And let me tell you, you can go many turns just bouncing it back, casting it for a higher X value over and over, fill your board up with game objects.
Yep.
It just feels great. And also, at the least, if you even cast it for 1, it's a 3 mana for 3 game objects. You get 2 1/1s and a food token.
That's such an amazing rate. And a lot of people, I might have skipped down it, but we are a Gaia's Cradle and Tolarian Academy deck. So every time you pick up Farmer Cotton, you're tapping Tolarian Academy and Gaia's Cradle for more and more mana, because he's coming down and making more artifacts and more creatures. It's just, how do you beat that? There's just, you can't beat it. It's so much value.
And Farmer Cotton feels great post-board, because if they board in creature hate, it's got artifacts, and if they board in artifact hate, which is the usual hate people bring in, you're still making these 1/1 halflings, which will trigger like all your token stuff. It will help out your Gaia's Cradle, all of that.
Yeah, you can see here in this version and my version as well, we play a lot of X-Spells because we can make so much mana.
A similar one, Feasting Hobbit, won multiple games on Monday. Feasting Hobbit's just a powerhouse of a card.
It's Devour Food 3, yet another mechanic that a lot of Magic players haven't read before, but this card is literally Murktide Regent, which I love telling people, because it's a 2 mana threat that gets bigger based on you playing your deck, much like Murktide, and it's evasive. It can't be blocked, much like Murktide. This card is so big, it's so quickly as well. Feasting Hobbit, beautiful card. Any other cards you really like, you've been kind of enjoying to play? I know you've been really high on Tanglewire as well, which is a new addition to our deck.
Yeah, I've been loving Tanglewire in the deck. Tanglewire feels amazing, because if you've got 3 foods and a Tanglewire down, on your upkeep, it'll tick down to 3. You'll tap Tanglewire and a couple of foods. It won't affect your game plan at all. If you're going up against, like, I don't know, a Boros deck, and it's like turn 3, you've got this down, they're tapping all their lands and a creature on their upkeep. It just puts you so further ahead in tempo, and it lets you get all these game pieces together for the late game.
Oh, well, slow down with that T word. Use that T word, and you make the Discord very angry when they realize food midrange might just be tempo.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, Tanglewire is sick. And yeah, it's so funny when they printed this card, they didn't realize what exactly they were going to print this card into. Fantastic. Moving on. What do you think the strongest card in this deck is, and do you think it's a pointed card?
I'd hate to say it, but Tinker is quite a powerhouse in this deck at the moment, because I'm playing the build with Bolas's Citadel.
Yep.
The sacking one of your food tokens that you've created from your token creators and getting out Bolas to churn through all your other food pieces is a pretty powerful play pattern, I must say.
Yeah, this card's good, and I think the flavor text of sacking 10 non-land permanents from Bolas's Citadel is actually not flavor text in our deck, which is great. So
yeah, it becomes a genuine win con in this deck. So I'd say Tinker or Astrid Peth, if you're focused on that mid-range plane, is probably the best food-related card in the deck, I'd say.
Yeah, Astrid Peth is an interesting new card from Doctor Who that I think it's WotC's way of pushing the food archetype forward a little bit more as well, because they haven't really printed enter and create a food on 2 mana cards before. Usually it was kind of 3 mana do nothings, but they kind of pushed it into this 2 mana area with Astrid Peth, and then there's upside sacking clues and foods to explore, which means that churning through foods essentially puts cards in your hand, or it gives you selection. Love this card. What is a neat or cool interaction that you like in this deck?
Honestly, talking about two of the cards we've just talked about, the combo with if you have foods down that you're sacking to Feasting Hobbit with its Devour, and you have an Astrid Peth down, just getting all this extra explore value, churning through the top of your library, finding either lands or putting the cards you don't want into your bin. It always feels good, all these little interactions in food that you don't realize when you're building it.
Yep.
That just, give you incremental value for doing stuff you already want to do in the deck.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there's at its face value, a lot of people, every card is carefully placed into this deck for a reason, and has a number of other cards that benefit off of each other. Super resilient to artifact hate. I mean, you tell me how many times has somebody landed a Null Rod against you, and you kind of just sit there like, great, I'll just play Ocelot Pride and Guide of Souls.
Yeah. The great thing about this deck is because you have the Gaia's package and the Tolarian package, I think its strength is how hard it is to sideboard against if you don't know the deck. If you sideboard pure artifact hate in, a lot of your artifacts you're not actually using any activated abilities. You're kind of just you could even just tinker for your Tangle Wire, and then, Null Rod's not really affecting you.
I don't know if you're tapping to you yet, but when an opponent lands in Energy Flux and you play out Astrid Peth, causing you to have to sacrifice your own artifacts, it's like, great, okay, I'm just gonna explore every turn, for free now.
Yeah, it churns the engine along a bit quicker than it normally would have.
Yeah, no, I agree. This deck's really sweet, and congratulations on your 3-0 as well. It's really good to see decks like this, and Jolt Games looks like an amazing place to play, so I'm definitely looking to drive up soon. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Any last thoughts on the deck or any last words?
Thank you very much for having me, and I just hope more people get into this great deck here, man.
Yeah.
It's a blast to play, honestly. It's so fun to play. You got to be quite focused in the game actions, but it's just great to see all these objects on the board.
I agree.
All right, so here we go with the Weldgorger deck. I've got Alex here with me. How you doing, Alex?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm excited to hear about this deck. I've been looking at it for a few weeks now, and it's been intriguing me. What made you start putting this thing together?
So the brainchild of this deck was, what happens if I had a Chaos Defiler and a Goblin Welder, and I just did that for the whole game.
Very effective strategy.
My opponent just lost the game, right? Couple problems came up with that originally. I had to, build really heavily into the Goblin Welder and Engineer type effects, and upon doing that, I realized hey, hang on, this Grindstone and this Painter Servant card, they're pretty good with Goblin Welder as well. Originally, it was just kind of a mid-range deck that tried to outvalue your opponent with a bunch of artifacts, and then won too many Collector Roofs without a way to just win the game all ahead. And here we go, putting in Painter Servant and Grindstone and trying to go from there.
So the Weldgorger was the second addition to the combo pile.
Yeah, the Weldgorger was a second edition because Entomb, I was just I was playing Entomb because it was good with the welders and such, and I was I just want something that I can get off this Entomb that's really high value. Sometimes I don't have the Animate Dead, and some things are a bit sketchy. I used to be on Reanimate for a point as well.
Yep.
And then as I added the Weldgorger Servant and started turning the deck more towards that combo aspect of having 2 0-point A+B combos in the list, Reanimate was just a better swap for something like Mental Misstep or Death Ration.
Yeah, so you're playing over in Perth. What kind of meta are you playing into with this deck? You've been putting up some good results at the locals and some events recently.
So there's a lot of mid-range over here. I'd say there's a lot of the Goop players who play really consistently and things like that are either playing something like Jund, 5-color mid-range, Grixis, these types of things. There's a couple of combo players as well, but they're more a value sort of Lion's Eye Diamond Breach decks, Brain Freeze decks, too. And just this deck is really trying to put an emphasis on being able to like win games against mid-range decks, and then like it has all the tools to beat the other matchups as well, like aggro and things like that.
Yeah, obviously you got like the opposition agent here, the Fairy Macabre, the Duress, and even going across to the Dreams of Steel and Oil. Want to take out these combos, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so an interesting thing with the sideboard is this deck can prey on your opponent basically like mis-sideboarding a lot of the time, or putting in powerful silver bullets in their sideboard against your strategy, but they oftentimes clump up on either a creature with like 2-3 toughness, or they're a 1 or 2 mana artifact. So cards like Kolaghan's Command, Dreams of Steel and Oil, Abrade, Goblin Crater Maker, Fiery Confluence, these cards can both deal with like some type of Ghost Vacuum or Unlicensed Hearth style effect, but also Collector Roofs and Null Rods. So they're really flexible against hate pieces for either your artifact combo or your graveyard-based combo.
Got a Lurrus in the main deck here as well. How's that been going?
Oh, this card is excellent. So one of the issues this deck has with winning with Weldgorger Dragon is that if you have just a Surveil land in play, when you start looping all your lands to make a bunch of mana, and if you have a Surveil land, mill your entire library, is that if one of your 2 animate dead effects is like already been used in the game or is already in your graveyard, you can't like cleanly execute a combo where you put like Pyrogoyf or Orcish Bowmasters into play and then put a million ETBs on the stack with Weldgorger Dragon. Because how the combo sort of like functions is you keep animate deading Weldgorger Dragon, it keeps on eating the enchantment that's keeping it alive, making it go back to the graveyard, and then when the enchantment comes back, it like picks up the Weldgorger Dragon again. And every single time this happens, you just tap your lands for mana. But also, if you have a Raucous Theatre, it enters and lets you surveil. So one of the main things is if you assemble Animate Dead plus Weldgorger Dragon with a Surveil land in play and some way to like make mana off of your other lands, the deck is constructed to be able to kill your opponent. You mill your deck, then with your last Animate Dead target, you target your Lurrus. Then you bring Lurrus back, and then with Lurrus's ability, you cast the second Animate Dead or Dance of the Dead effect from your graveyard, targeting Weldgorger Dragon, and you restart the loop, and you put all your creatures from the graveyard into play, and that generally kills your opponent. So Lurrus is like kind of a combo piece, but also just wins games by like letting you cast a Mishra's Bauble a bunch of times. It's a very interesting card. 10 out of 10, amazing for the deck.
Yeah, he's just a glue holding the whole thing together.
Yeah.
Combo
This
and
deck,
mid-range and Brian.
yeah, exactly. They're like, you play your Lurrus, they're like, damn, 3/2 lifelink, eh? It's gonna stop me from attacking, and then you're like, yep.
What if it also killed
I'm
you?
just gonna... yeah, what if it also just let me cast this Animate Dead over and over and over again?
But what's getting number 1 slot for the strongest card in the deck currently?
Lurrus is pretty good. Lurrus, being both part of your combo outlet and way to grind value, but if this deck wants to do anything, it wants to draw a bunch of cards, and that's got to go to the One Ring.
The old reliable.
Old reliable One Ring. Sometimes decks can struggle with the One Ring to either win the game before the One Ring kills them, or get rid of it. And a deck with 2 A+B combos and a bunch of ways to sacrifice artifacts to extra effects, this has none of the downsides of this card in the deck.
Already being
He was a bit of a
the Rakdos Grist is really sweet in this deck specifically.
Oh, yeah. Duretti is like such a powerhouse. At any point you're like even on board or ahead on board and you slam a Duretti against a creature-based deck, they're out of the game already. You either already kill a creature, then they have to kill it, and they just get 2 for 1, or you just keep plussing it and run away with the game because they can't punch through.
Yeah, it's so sweet. What would you say is a neat or a cool interaction with this deck? Like your favorite, even.
Your favorite has got to be. It's kind of boring, but with just like a Goblin Welder effect in play with your Painter Servant and your Grindstone, you can if you only have one artifact to go around, like you've got your Painter Servant in your graveyard and your Grindstone in play, you can always pay the mana to put the Grindstone activation on the stack, targeting your opponent, and then before it resolves, you hold priority, and then you weld your Grindstone into your Painter Servant to get the old,
really sweet.
Get the old A+B combo, but having only one artifact and a welder.
Yeah, it's a really cool angle to attack. Like the whole brewing space that this deck's built in is kind of not utilized as much as a lot of others currently in the artifact shell or in the combo shell. So it's cool to be seeing this kind of pop up and put some work in. Are there any new cards you're looking out for, or new things you want to try from new sets or from old?
I've got like almost 90 cards in my considering tab on Mock Seward for this deck. There's so much stuff I want to try. Just so many cool cards like Pyrite Spellbomb I want to try for the Lurus, and you can grab it off Urza Saga as a removal spell. And it's also one of the few ways this deck can actually answer a card like Sanctifier and Vec, because it's from a colorless source. Is really big. I would say like Damping Sphere is something that I would really want to try in the sideboard more if there was like decks more like Storm, sort of like floating around in the meta, and even good against stuff like Academy decks or Cradle decks as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can go with it, like kind of a lot of different areas you can move into or different metas you can attack, because you have the versatility of doing the artifact stuff and the graveyard stuff. You can really kind of work with the silver boards and sideboards to punch down the meta you're working in.
Yeah, 100%. If Enchantress is big in your area, though, you got to look at something else. Rakdos is not the colors for you.
Yeah, one day, I'm sure in a few years, Enchantress might be good in some area, but unfortunately, in our current environment, it's not popping up as much, luckily. If you were to point or depoint anything, what's first on the list for you?
Honestly, Psychic Frog to 2. That's my Frog to 2.
Scream into the
Get
clouds.
out of here.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today for the roundup. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. And hopefully we'll see this deck around some more 4-0s and more events coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Also, yeah, if you're super interested too, there's a primer available as well. It's just like an intro on the sort of deck, the types of combo lines, going like really in depth as to like step by step how you actually win the game with several of the combos, as well as sort of like some strengths and weaknesses and like how to pivot between the two, sort of like Painter Servant and Weldgorger Dragon, and even the like mid-range sort of game plans. And hopefully there'll be a sideboard guide up there as well, just whenever I get around to that.
Yeah, it's really sweet. It covers everything you need to know about the main deck currently, and eventually the sideboard will come through and tell you how to squash all the Perth mid-range piles.